What is a coalition? Now, in its simplest form, it's when people coordinate their activities to achieve a political goal. This is everything from a group of neighbors rallying together to have the city fix their playground to a national coalition fighting to get a piece of legislation passed. Now, there's a lot written about coalition philosophy and practice. Now, for you deep dive academic folks, look up Advocacy Coalition Framework. Now, what we're going to do today is take a practical look at the different ways coalitions form and function for state advocacy work. To do this, we'll explore options for issue, leadership, duration, and membership. All right, if you're going to form a coalition, you need to know what you're asking potential members to be in a coalition for. That's your issue. So, the first thing you need to decide is the scope of your coalition. Will it be broad or will it be very specific? Are you trying to change a whole lot of things or one specific issue? You may be all for criminal justice reform. We're talking bail reform, sentencing reform, prison reform, and reentry reform. But you may also know you really want to focus on reentry issues, specifically changing barrier crime language to open up more employment opportunities for folks. If your coalition focuses on criminal justice in general, then it's broad. If it focuses on just that barrier crimes, then it's specific. Now, why is this important? If you don't define what your issue is, it's easy to get spread too thin with your resources and you become ineffective. However, if you're realistic about your capacity and passion, then you can plan accordingly. If your coalition consists of several grassroots organizations led by passionate single issue advocates, then trying to fight for everything in your area will pull people away from their passion and they'll be less effective and less resourced. But if you're working with a well-resourced coalition, you could easily take on multiple policy priorities and be broad in your advocacy. All right, now that you know your issue, you want to figure out the leadership structure. What we mean here is who, which organization or organizations, is driving the conversation about policy and strategy decisions. This is either a single or multi-leader structure. Single leader is when one organization or person is leading the policy and strategy efforts. Other orgs or individuals have signed on to be part of the coalition, but they are more signatories than leaders. They might provide manpower, but they're not actually guiding that policy discussion. And that's okay. You can agree with a policy, want it to be implemented, but not have the capacity to actively work towards that goal. This means one org is doing the work and will keep the other coalition members informed. If you're not the lead org, then you're simply going to provide your logo for one-pagers, you'll share some call to actions with your group, and make some calls to legislators or include this on your bill trackers that you send to elected officials. If you are the lead organization, then all the responsibility falls on your shoulders. You have to develop the policy, create the one-pagers, recruit patrons, and organize support. In a multi-leader coalition, the leadership and decision-making is shared. You'll find these coalitions forming when there are several organized and passionate groups with the capacity working in the same space. In these coalitions, policy ideas and strategies are debated amongst two or more orgs. While one org or individual is the lead, their voice does not dominate. The advantage to this type of coalition is you have more partners with significant buy-in that will do the hard work. The disadvantage is with different groups with different priorities, you may find it harder to reach a consensus. But you know what? That's why they call it leadership. All right, now that you understand who is leading your coalition, it's important to understand how long this coalition will last. And once again, there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Sometimes, especially if you're fighting a bad bill, the coalition may only last for a single legislative session, or even shorter if the bill gets killed off quickly. Sometimes it's an easy policy win, and the coalition disbands after that. Other times, the coalition leaders see multiple policy pieces that need to be implemented or know it will take some grass tops education and grassroots organizing to gain the momentum to pass legislation. For open-ended timeframes, where you are actively working on narrative change for policy, then you'd want coalition partners to understand there is an indefinite commitment to the coalition work. On the other hand, if you have secured funding for a 2-year legislative campaign, then you can tell folks it's a 2-year commitment. Or if you're rallying a coalition to fight a bad bill, then make sure they know it's only for this one session or until that bill is killed dead. Okay, let's talk about membership now. Who's in your coalition? The active membership and their reputations will go a long way to determining what you can achieve and how legislators view your work. If you want to control things, you can make it an invite only coalition. You and your org and those you personally invite. There's nothing wrong with this, especially if you're working on a technical piece of policy or one with lots of different possibilities. It's your coalition. Make sure you're strict with who you involve so you know there's a value alignment. A strict coalition membership strategy is helpful when you're being proactive in creating policy. You want everyone aligned. So when is a loose membership strategy the winning plan? This is much better when you're playing defense. If you're trying to stop a bad bill from passing and you share that goal with organizations you're not normally aligned with, then work with them in a loose membership coalition. When you fight against something, your desired outcome is to kill the bill. You might not agree with them on anything else, and that's fine. Be loose about who's part of this coalition, because the more inclusive it is, the broader it is, the more likely it is to reach enough legislators to be effective. And there's your summary on coalitions. Now you can better create your own coalition or understand how the coalition that you're a part of works, so you can be more effective in turning your passion into policy. Thanks to another edition of Better Advocacy in 10 Minutes or Less.